Yeah, well, this and the other photos I've got here, I've just have taken in the last couple of days. I tried and tried to find the good light, look for the good light, and find the good light. The two on the lower left-hand corner are my pictures that I really did get in the evening for the one with the bowl, and in the daytime. And they're not really the good light. They're not really doing that for me. I'm just so determined to get some of those things that John described to us a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to get those. So I finally today I saw in the Roanoke Times they had a weather article about the fact that we've got this thing called a cutoff that's just played havoc with our weather lately, and all the rain. I was not able to get the good light for a while. So instead of concentrating just on the good light with the warm subjects and everything, I listened to the last part of what John had talked about before about shadows, and I thought, well, I can bring this all inside maybe and get some learning about shadows because I just admire the way he talks about the science of photography and everything and puts these together and shows us real examples. So my tendency is often to go to try to get a learning process out of this thing, and I decided to take some things from around the house, like these little meerkats, and stand them up inside and look at their shadows to learn something about the light.
Hmm.
So go ahead with the next slide, if you will, Annette, and I'll show you what I tried to do to learn a little bit about the light. So John had done such a great job of showing us how he took the picture and what the picture came out like. If you were close to it, you got really softer shadows than if you moved farther away and farther away. So I shot pictures of this same little girl holding a basket. She's metal. She's a little figurine, but I was shooting at about 1 foot away, 2 feet away, and 4 feet away with a very small light. It's actually just a flashlight. It's laying on my on my flash. In that picture, it's standing on top of a tripod. A light stand in the other two pictures at 2 feet away and 4 feet away. And I'm learning that sure enough, the farther you get away, especially with a small light source, you get very sharp shadows behind you. So then I decided to shoot with a larger light. I couldn't find my umbrella to shoot with the strobe through it. So on the next slide, Annette, if you would, I'm shooting again at 1 foot away or 2 or 4 feet away with a studio solid light, about an 8 inch light. And I'm shooting at f32 to try to keep everything in focus so that if things went soft, they didn't go soft because of focus. They just went soft because that's the nature of the light that's falling behind this little girl. So there's my camera, there's my light, 2 feet away, 4 feet away. Sure enough, the flash goes, the exposure goes from a tenth of a second to a half a second to 2 seconds because I'm doubling the distance that I go away, and the light falls off at the square of the distance that you are away. I don't have any real pictures blown up full size so that you can see the difference of this, but maybe you can see the difference at least of the shadow in the background.
Absolutely.
So just about yesterday, I realized I didn't have anything that really showed the subject, like as if I was taking a portrait of this little girl with her basket. So I did get closer to her, and I did get a little bit of a study of the shadows on her, not just behind her, but on her by moving the light over to the side. These others have been shooting the light pretty much directly toward her to see the effect of the shadows. But if we go to the last one, we see what happens if I shoot straight at her with the light, or at a 45-degree angle, or 90-degree angle. At a foot away, it makes a pretty pretty big difference. You can see many more of the shadows on her, which I think was the essence of what John had shown us with the little Chinese Oriental guy in his picture. I have this little girl with her basket and a little kitty cat. I don't know if you can see that in her basket. And I can see when I blow it up that I get much more distinct shadows on her if I'm shooting over from the side. So I don't have any real good photos that anybody's going to ooh or ah over, but I did learn a lot of it. I did learn a lot from doing the exercise. Thank you, John, for challenging us with that looking for the good light. I couldn't find it, but I found a substitute for the good light in my strobes.
Well done, Art.
The one interesting thing, and that if you go back one slide there, something that you may have found when you were doing this particular setup is that even though you have one light bulb, you actually have three light sources there. You can see the shadows on the silhouette or on the figurine actually changing. Not just getting brighter or darker, but the position of your shadows move around.
Yeah, and I think I discovered that as I get farther away, the metallic surface of her changes in my picture. Now it's a 2-second picture, and I think I'm picking up more ambient light around, and maybe it's that reflected light coming off of the backers that I have there, the mat board, or maybe through the window. It was pretty dim. It was very. I was desperate. Yesterday, about 6 o'clock in the morning is when I was shooting.
If you think about this setup in terms of just two lights, don't even worry about the reflector in the back. But she's sitting on a reflector, right? So the ground itself for her is a light source, right? The light, of course, is a direct light source. And as you move that light away, you are changing the ratio between those two. So you can start to see in the picture on the left when that light is essentially it's a key and a fill. Right? But as you take that light farther and farther away, the fill light is less and less, which you start seeing the shadow more and more behind your little bag.
Yeah, and I thought what was doing that was that I was shooting automatic exposure. I wasn't shooting manual with all the same exposure on every one. I was getting more of the reflected light, playing more of a part in the overall exposure of the picture.
Yeah, in theory, with that, you should see your overall exposure go up and down, and to an extent it does. The one on the left is just a little bit darker than the one on the right, but the detail is gone behind the bag and the one on the right because there's just not any light there anymore, at least not relative to the main light hitting the bag. So yeah, I think you did a good job with your assignment.
Thank you, and I'm still learning from it. Thank you again for the second lesson that you've given on this, John. So that's all I have. It's a lot of pictures. I put them into PowerPoint so I could move them around, and it helps me line them up. But then I took, the latest version of PowerPoint, by the way, you can save a JPEG directly from PowerPoint. Thanks, that's all I've got.
Well, that was a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot to chew on.
That's a nice exercise, Art.
Well, thanks. I like those kind of exercises. Sometimes I get a little carried away. I very often want to present you a picture that people will ooh and ah over like they do from some of your pictures some of the times, everybody's pictures some of the times. But I tend more to try to make a little more scientific thing out of it, a learning process for me, but then also some things that maybe I can teach somebody some of this sometimes, because that's what I did at the agency. And I really like to put things together that build my knowledge, not just my repertoire of the portfolio of my pictures.
It's very cool. That was a lot of work.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I tried to do it with those meerkats that I had at the beginning, but they're too tall and they make too big of shadows, and they kept falling off my backer boards and everything. So It was, but it's very quick. Once it gets going and you know what you're shooting for, I learn about manipulating the images through PowerPoint into JPEG and then onto a display that you can actually see.
That's a lot of learning.
Thank you.
So the shadow in these are harsher
Because the light is farther away. When the light is close, it sort of bleeds all around the image that's there. But when the light gets farther away, it becomes like the sun, like way up in the sky, way far away. It's a point light source. So everything that hits that thing, the little girl just falls straight behind her. That's why when you're shooting portraits, you want to get maybe a larger light source and closer, and even a reflector, and it will soften all the lines on her face and all the shadows behind her also.